Congratulations for surviving week 11. You are getting down to the nitty gritty in your pool, most likely. Unfortunately, though, we've got to deal with week 12, and it's not looking pretty. All right, guys, week 12 is upon us. We've been looking forward, not looking forward in a good way, but we've been looking out into the future at week 12 in prior weeks and kind of trying to set up, if we could, to have Dallas for this week. So hopefully, if you've got Dallas available, that's your best shot this week. We're going to dive into it. It does not look pretty so far this week. Now, those of you who were with me last week, hopefully you were able to take Cleveland. I mentioned that the majority of your pool, or at least the plurality favorite in your pool, was going to be Tennessee. And if we could get Cleveland or Tampa, most of you probably did not have Tampa, but if you didn't have Tampa and you had the choice between Cleveland and Tennessee, you kind of had to take Cleveland there. Now, it wasn't easy for Cleveland either. They were pretty ugly in a game with Detroit, but they get it done, and that high leverage spot hits again. So you want to take those high leverage situations when you can. Some of you might have won your pool already by having Cleveland, but if you did not, you took Cleveland in advance, you're probably getting to the nitty gritty. We've got, in one of the pools I'm in, it's been double picks every week. Last week I had San Fran and Cleveland. I advanced. We're down to 25 people. We started with 6,400 people. Of course, that's been double picks for the last 3 weeks, so it's a lot more difficult, but a huge pot. Top 10 gets 25% of a $510,000 pot. We can easily get to the top 10, maybe even someone win the entire thing this week because it's that difficult. You'll see if you haven't looked ahead yet at what I'm talking about when we bring up the Survivor grid. Another one of my pools, it's a $38,000 pot, and we are down to 23 people in that pool. We had 1 week of double picks. It's been single picks ever since, and it will continue to be single picks. Anything under 25 entries left is single picks from here on out. So I've got one there, and I was able to maneuver that one to save Dallas. So that's where I'm going to be this week. We'll see. Not an easy game, but the best game on the board. So let's just dive into it. Let's go into the Survivor grid. Take a look at what we're looking at. So as you can see, the most likely team to win is Dallas, and they are getting the most play here this week at 20%. That 20% is probably just about all of the remaining Dallas picks in each of these pools. So there's going to be not too many people holding Dallas for any other game in the future here. If you've got Dallas, you pretty much have to unload on them this week. Now, are we excited about it? No, but we're going to be a lot happier with Dallas, at least before the game start. And Dallas game, of course, remember, that game is tomorrow. I'm taping this on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. So that Dallas game, if you are going to get on Dallas, make sure you get that pick in early enough. If you look, it starts to get ugly. Now, a lot of you have taken New England already in a lot of your pools. Those who haven't and don't have the ability to take Dallas. Now, actually, if you do have the ability to take Dallas and New England, you'd have to seriously consider New England, especially in a pool with not that many people left, because you know you're going to have a lot of Dallases. You know, I can give you guys the macro advice on these pools, but really we're getting down to the nitty gritty in your pool, and you're going to have to make the decisions based on what people have left. So when I do the analysis for the video, it's really on, like I say, a macro level, and I'm looking at it from what the possibilities are, what the most likely possibility is in your pool. But of course, the comments, you guys have been great with the comments. Leave the comments, let me know. You guys are in unique different pools. You may have started with a whole lot of people. And so where you're at in your pool, the teams that you have left, the teams your opponents have left, is going to really determine which direction we're going on a lot of these picks. So again, we talk about New England. If I had New England and Dallas left, if I was down to a handful of people and I was the only one with New England, I'd have to make a serious case here to take New England, right? We talked about this in the past. We talked about it last week where you wanted to take Tampa in a situation where maybe a lot of people in your pool could not take Tampa, right? Where everyone was going to be going on Tennessee. So I don't mind having New England here as 1 point less of a favorite And as you can see, according to their numbers, it's about 2.5% less chance of winning when I could potentially take the pool down. So let's just make the assumption there were 5 people in your pool, and let's say 3 of them could take Dallas. You're the only one who could take New England, and the one other person has taken Dallas and New England, so you're not sure where they're going. You'd want to take New England here most likely because you could be the only one. You'll be the only one sitting there with New England. And at this stage of the game, you want to be the only one on a team because that always gives you the chance to win the entire pool. So having a team that's just as likely to win or close to it and being the only one on them is a big advantage in these pools. Now, I have to take Dallas in my pool. I really don't have a choice. I've taken New England. I've taken Buffalo. I've taken Cincinnati, right? Do I want to go down to Philly? That would be the question in my pool. And I just don't think it's worth it with the amount of people in my pool left. I want to just get by with Dallas and then reassess next week. So that is the danger, though. You take a team like Dallas when a lot of other people can, and you may not get that leverage. But you do see this EV, and again, I never really go into the calculation because I'm not 100% sure how they do their EV calculation. But the fact that only 20%, even though that's it's the plurality favored here, most people in your pool or the most likely picked team in your pool is going to be Dallas. If you've got any significant amount of people left in your pool, you're still getting some leverage on the field if you do have Dallas. Plus, the risk of these other teams losing is great because, as you can see, Buffalo and almost most pools are going to be very few people have Buffalo left. Cincinnati's not a team that a lot of people have left. Right, so you're getting down to these 3.5 point favorites that people are going to be forced to take. So if you have Dallas or you have New England, you've got to go in that. You've got to go with one of those, preferably New England. If you have it, most of you probably don't. In which case, you're going to have to take Dallas, and then let these other teams go. They've got basically 60% chances of winning if they spread out their. If you've got 40 people, 50 people in a pool that most of them have to spread out their risk. Some are going to be on Philly, some are going to be on Baltimore, some are going to even be on Chicago here, and we'll go over that in a second. But they're inevitably, statistically, they're going to lose. A significant portion of your pool are going to lose based on the teams that they have to take. Some people may even be taking a team like Houston, which is shocking, right? But they're playing the Jets, so you're going to see people with Houston. People are going to take the Chargers. These are all games that are between 55 and 60% chance of winning. So you're going to, it's inevitable. We're going to knock out at least a few and potentially a ton of people in the pools because they just don't have the ability. So if you were able to save Dallas and New England, you can see why you have a huge advantage. If you go down with one of those two teams, I know Tennessee, good team, but as I always tell you guys, follow the point spread, follow the line. If we go down with a team that is by far the best favorite of the week, then so be it. It just wasn't meant to be. But I'd much rather take a shot here with Dallas or New England than try to get Houston to win a game for me. I don't care if they're playing the Jets or have Chicago, who's looked terrible, at Detroit. Ton of turmoil going on in Chicago. I think the players want the coach out. The fans certainly want the head coach out. And Detroit does not want to go 0-17 on the season. This is a really good shot on Thanksgiving for them to win. So scary game there. In the pool where I have to make double picks, there's going to be quite a few people taking Chicago. I'm pretty sure I'm going to stay away from that game and see where I'm at in that pool after Thursday. I'm not taking any. I can't take Dallas in that pool. So I'm going to sort of be waiting for see if there's any carnage on Thursday and then see where I'm going on Sunday. The other thing with this is you've got to look at, we get week in, week out, we get these COVID stories and who's out. You never know if a quarterback's going to be out. That's going to totally change these projections. So if I did not have to take a Thursday game, I'm okay with that, unless, of course, it's Dallas in my one pool. That's it. I've been saving Dallas. I'm firing Dallas at it. I can't take the Patriots, so I have no choice. But in that double elimination pool, I like not taking Chicago. Some people are going to be on it. I'm just going to let that game go, and I'm going to pick two other games that are going to be pretty close to what the Chicago line is. And let me give you a little bit more, something that we haven't talked about. What I'm looking at in that double elimination pool is starting to hedge. It's a significant amount of money in that pool. Hedging is tricky. I've got a whole video on hedging in the Sharp Academy here at the Sharp app. If you go into the Sharp Academy on YouTube, or if you download the app and watch some of the Sharp Academy videos, I've got one on hedging. Now, I don't typically like to hedge when it comes to futures bets and parlays, things like that. And that all the reasoning for that is in the video. But I do like to hedge when I'm in these office pool type of scenarios. For one reason, usually it's a small amount of money to win a large amount of money. You're not going to be in that situation often enough where in parlays, you're going to get in that situation often enough where if you make a hedge bet, basically you're betting against yourself in order to lock in some sort of a profit. Over time, that's actually a negative bet. And again, refer to the video and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I do like to hedge in these situations if I can, and I know what my numbers are now. I could do a whole video on hedging, but take into account if you could take a later game. If you've got two games that are equal, one is at 1 o'clock and one is at 4 o'clock, or one is the night game or a Monday night game, even better, then you can assess where, if both are equal and you're not sure which one to take, you take the later game because now you've got the ability, if you've got the means to bet at a sports book in the state that you live in, that you can now hedge. And the way typically you're going to hedge a game like that is you're going to be betting against yourself. So if I took a favorite by 3 points, I'd want to bet if I took the favorite in a Survivor type of pool, I may want to bet that on the spread line because I can actually win my Survivor bet and win my bet on the spread. Now, some people may say they want to take it on the money line, and the money line, of course, you're going to get paid more, but that's going to be a win or lose situation there. There's a chance where if I make a $500 hedge bet on a team, let's say I was taking the Chargers and I wound up betting Denver because let's say it's a $5,000 pot, and the person, there's two other people in the pool, and on Thursday they lose with the Bears. It's all on me to win the 5,000. If you're in a great situation, obviously, because now let's say you took the Chargers. If the Chargers win that game, you win the pot. If the Chargers lose that game, and let's say they advance everybody back another week, that's what happened in the pool. My brother, he's still alive in that pool because everyone lost. The three people in the pool lost 2 weeks ago. If you're in a situation like that where the rules are, if everyone loses in the same week, you continue on to the next week, then you are at the same amount of equity that you have this week, next week, of course, right? So if it's let's make the numbers easier. Let's say it's a $6,000 pot. There's three of you. You have $2,000 worth of equity at that point. Now, if two people lose before your game starts, you're either going to win 6,000 or you're going to be back to 2,000 in equity. So you may want to take a portion of that, and maybe you want to make $1,000 bet on Denver on this hypothetical where you have the Chargers and you bet 1,000 on Denver. If the Chargers were to win that game by 1 or 2, you'll win that bet and you'll wind up winning the entire pool. If the Chargers lose the game outright, you'll win your bet. You'll have $1,000 in your pocket and you've still got $2,000 worth of equity in your pool. Or if the Chargers just go ahead and win the game by, a touchdown or more, really they only have to win by 3 or more, then you will lose your $1,000 bet, but you'll win the $6,000 in the pot to cover that bet plus a nice profit. So you can look into those things. If you have any questions about hedging, it does get a little tricky. Be sure to just leave a comment down below if you're interested in doing something like that. But we're getting towards the point in the season where hedging can become profitable. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I potentially, because the top 10 get paid 25% of that pool, which equates to, if there are 10 people, $12,700 a piece approximately. And it could be even less if we get down to 5 people. Then only after this week, if there's only 5 people left, 5 people will chop that $127,000. So I might be hedging if enough people take the Bears. I may actually be hedging by betting the Bears this week. So there's a lot of ways you could do it. But if you've gotten to this point, you are at an advantage. You've got equity now in your pot, in your pool. You may want to look into hedging. Again, ask me any questions on hedging in the comments. I'd be happy to help you guys out. It's it's kind of one of my specialties, is figuring out the right amount to hedge on these things. So again, let's just dive back into the website here, the Survivor Grid. again, it's not pretty. You can't take Dallas. You can't take New England. Then what are you looking at? You most likely can't take Buffalo. Cincinnati, questionable whether you can take them or not. But at this point, my advice is only going to be I would look for the best leverage situation. Is Philadelphia, let's say you have, there's a chance you've got Philadelphia, San Francisco. You probably don't have Tampa. You could have Chicago, Houston, and the Chargers. It's going to depend on the size of the pool. If you're in one of these pools that was just massive, then you're going to have to take a risk here. So it's going to have to be a team that you're not going to take again. Is that Chicago? Well, you're definitely not taking Chicago again. Houston, you're definitely not taking Houston again. And that's why you see 10% and 5%, because some people are looking at the future. If you're in a pool where there's not that many people left, we could see that pool get really close to either ending or it may either end or get really close to ending this week. So I would be leery of just taking a team that I'm worried about the future value here, because there may not be that much of a future left. So I'm not looking too far ahead. Let's just look quickly at week 13. You probably can't take the Rams. Tampa, you probably can't take. Possibly you can take Kansas City, but you're not taking them this week, so you're not worried about that. Minnesota, you're not taking this week. So if you've got Minnesota left, you have them available. If you have Indianapolis left, you're not thinking about taking them this week. If you've got Arizona left. So you've got some options more than likely. And Philly at the Jets, if you happen to have taken all those other teams and you've got Philly available. So just looking 1 week ahead here to week 13, you should have some options available to you in week 13. So I think you want to take the best possible team you can here in week 12. And when it comes down to these 3.5 to 3 point type of favorites, I want to take the team that I obviously can take, look at the teams that you can take, and then be on the one that the least amount of people are taking, right? So I don't want to take Philly. I'd much rather take Philadelphia, or I'd much rather not have Philadelphia. I'd rather have San Francisco than Philadelphia, right? Because I'm getting more leverage on the San Francisco play. I know it looks terrible. Do I personally like it? I actually like Minnesota in the game. But we're looking at this again. We're not looking to try to figure out who's going to win the game. We're not handicapping the games. I like Detroit to win this game too, but I would like Chicago better if they weren't being used. But they're going to be used at a too high a rate, so I can't see a scenario where I'm taking Chicago. Houston's probably going to be picked too high as well. So it's going to be really interesting where you guys go. I'm not going to have. Usually, I've got a pretty good. I've got some pretty concrete, solid answers for you guys. But I'm going to do my best. Leave some comments down below. If you're thinking about hedging, of course, leave a comment about that. And I'm curious to see where you guys are in your pool. Some of you guys are in some massive pools, and I know you guys were on Cleveland last week. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys where you're at in your pools. Hopefully, you guys are around for next week. I love seeing you guys. Love seeing the amount of views and the comments. So hopefully we can advance. We can move on to next week. I'm hoping for sure. I'm in a couple of these big ones. And download the Sharp app, guys. Check it out. If you're interested at all, when I was talking about hedging, download the Sharp app. You could see where the lines are at all the different sports books available to you, and you can see what kind of line you can get on that game. For instance, if you had the Chargers, you could see where can I get the best line on Denver, what sports book that may be. And come check us out in our Discord. I have a link down below to Discord. Say hello to me in there. You can ask questions in the Discord. We've got well over 1,000, maybe 1,500 people in the Discord, all with interest in sports, of course, and sports betting. So come check that out. And the least you could do is download the app for hopefully getting some good information on these, and then share, like these videos, subscribe, the whole thing. You know how it is. Guys, I really appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Hopefully you have a great holiday with the family. And until next week, good luck. Let's survive.